Day 18, November 9th. For this morning's hunt, Zach and I came up this creek and went to that edge of that grass field that we've hunted twice in the evening. It seemed to make sense at the time to come up here and check that out in the morning, see if the deer were cruising up and down that brushy fence line between the two blocks of cover that are on either side of it, or if they're out in that grass field, maybe chasing does around, or just in general more deer activity down in there in the morning than what we've even seen in the evenings. Well, unfortunately for us today, the wind got pretty funky on us, and it was light and variable, and they had forecast wind out of a certain direction, and that didn't materialize. So we stayed in there long enough to see we saw 3 different does, 2 fawns, and a 1.5-year-old buck. It was a gorgeous morning to be in the tree for sure. I mean, if you weren't deer hunting, where the light and variable wind was going to cause you problems, beautiful, still, crisp, just a gorgeous morning. It's been only the second day now, this whole fall, that I can remember where we've had frost. Which is pretty amazing when you think it's November 9th. We've only had 2 mornings with frost so far. We didn't see any real rutting activity to speak of, and just figured we'd best get out of there when those winds were swirling like that. And they weren't even really swirling. They'd blow for 5 minutes from one direction and then 5 minutes from a different direction, and just kind of circulated almost all the way around the compass on us. And that's a pretty bad idea, to sit in a tree when you don't have a safe wind direction. Even with all the scent control steps that we take, I still never like to sit in a stand where my scent is blowing potentially in the direction where I expect deer to be coming from. You're just going to educate deer, and it's going to make it a lot tougher to be successful. So it's best just in those situations just to get out. So even though it's the prime part of the morning, it's about 9 o'clock, a little after 9 o'clock right now, we decided to climb down and get out of there, regroup, and then figure out what we're going to do for the afternoon hunt. This afternoon is quite a bit like this morning. We had light and variable winds this morning, and it's really pretty dead right now. I've thrown up some leaves, and mostly it's coming from the south. But every once in a while you'll get a little small, slight gust coming from the southwest. The spot we're going to, after some deliberation, is the one that we've hunted a couple of mornings. It's on a lane, leads right through a block of timber, right in the middle of what I hope to be the area where Skinny is spending most of his time. We don't hunt it a lot in the afternoons, but when I have hunted in the afternoons, it's always been pretty good. It's mostly a morning spot. So we're going to where we think the does are mostly bedded, and hopefully we can get some bucks milling through there and chasing around this afternoon. I started walking toward the other spot that I was planning to hunt, and I kept getting these little gusts of wind coming from the southwest. That's going to kill us if we go down in that lane. So we're going to go to a different spot called Old Reliable, and it's a really good spot. We haven't hunted there yet this year. I've got a lot of history with this spot. Killed a lot of deer here, a lot of does and a few bucks over the years. It sets up a lot better for the southwest wind, assuming that it stays consistent. But since we're not really in the middle of what we would call Skinny's range, there's always some hope that he could fringe out there. But if we do mess this spot up, we haven't done any permanent damage, hopefully, to our chances of killing that buck. The sun just set, so I've got about a half an hour left. The action picked up immediately when I got into the tree. I didn't even have my bow pulled up, and there was a fawn out in the plot. We've had a doe, 2 fawns, 3 fawns, then a couple more, another doe and 2 more fawns, and then a small buck this evening. And the deer are real spooky. Every little sound sets them off tonight. It's real still. They can just hear everything. I wouldn't say we're down to thermals yet, but it's probably just a 2 to 3 mile per hour wind. I've hunted the stand a lot, and when it's windy, I mean, you can do a jig up here on the stand and the deer never even pay any attention to it. But tonight they're pretty spooky. There's a big and beastie plot out in front of the stand. That's what these deer are eating. It was one that we drilled in back at I think it was about the end of August with the Genesis cedar. And it did very well. I mean, the deer had just been hammering it. I had trail camera pictures up here of a bunch of deer. So there's a lot of deer using this. There were 2 or 3 pretty solid, mature, probably 4 to 4+ year old bucks that were using this area earlier. So with a half an hour left, hopefully something else pops out. Whatever comes out, we'll show it to you. And then be back in the tree again tomorrow. So keep checking back and we'll keep bringing you these video blogs.